the reason I'm so dressed up right now is that I was just at an interview, in case anyone's wondering, just to get that out of the way. But I'm not going to talk much about that because the topic of this video is tennis again. And I just talked about tennis, but and now I'm going to talk about some of the things that I guess are problems with tennis, or I don't know. I'm going to just talk about some more things in tennis that maybe are a little annoying as from my point of view. Something like that. Whatever. Just let me talk. So the first thing, tennis is a good sport. As I said in the last video, I think it's a pretty great sport, but the sport has to be it can only be as great as, let's say, the competition allows, if you know what I mean. I mean, this is the case with anything. If you have to play someone that you're at least somewhat close in skill level to, for it to be any sort of fun. And I say somewhat close. Sometimes some people might be playing and they'll be like, "Oh, this guy's way better than me," but and so you might think you're very far in skill. But as long as you can actually do something, like you can hit the ball back a little bit, you can hit some shots back, and you can do at least a little bit, so that you can actually have some sort of points where you can't, where it's not like you just can't even return a single shot. Then it can be kind of fun. The problem is when you're playing against someone who's so far ahead of you in level that you can't even hit the ball. Then that wouldn't be fun. Like if I were to go up against a pro, that would not. Well, I mean, it would be fun to have the experience of seeing what it feels like, but it wouldn't be fun for me to do that consistently. I mean, not really. Only for the sake of being, oh, it's cool that I played a pro, but it wouldn't really be that fun if I did that a lot, because I wouldn't. They're not even close enough to my level, or not even assuming they weren't playing. Let's assume they weren't playing down for some reason. They're not even close enough to my level, close enough down to my level that I can actually do anything to improve. Because if they actually tried, not even using their full power, probably even using like 5% of their power, 10%, whatever, not using their full power, they can destroy me easily. I won't return a single shot. I'll hit a serve, and they'll immediately smack the crap out of it, and I won't touch the ball. And even them serving, not even close to as fast as they can serve, I won't touch the ball either. I won't react. So I probably won't be able to win a single point. So obviously that's not going to be fun. And this is the case in any sport. And just look at the reverse. That's not going to be very fun for them because they don't even have to do anything to win. And they're not getting money out of it or anything like that unless I'm paying them. So that's not going to be very fun, right? This is obvious. This is obvious. You have to be challenged in whatever sort of game you're doing for it to be, or you have to be at least somewhat within the level of your opponent for most games to be fun, unless there's some kind of other factor like money or just something stupid like that, right? I mean, this is obvious. This is obvious. Why am I explaining this? Tennis, as this may be the case with many sports and many games, it can be very difficult to find people who are at your level, right? Let's take me at tennis. I think I'm a pretty decent tennis player. I'm an okay tennis player. You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at my form, but let's say I played in high school. It was a private school, so it's not like one of these public school things where they just let any athletic person on. No, like these are people. Most of them they've taken private lessons and such like that. Not me though, because I hate private lessons, and I'm just a natural talent. And as I spoke about in the previous video, my IQ, my mentality allows me to win. So I was able to get on the team. Not for you to think that, oh, that team must be bad. I do know what I'm doing a little bit here, right? I'm better than most people at tennis. If you're better than me, then you're pretty good. Let's just say that. You're pretty good if you're actually better than me. You would be considered pretty good. So, given that I'm at that level, perhaps it's also just me being in that weird stage of not as good as really good people, but still better than almost anyone else. It's very difficult to find someone to play with. And if I were to actually play people who were at a higher level than me, but not very high, then that might be kind of fun, even though I'd probably get upset at losing a lot of the time because I don't like to lose. But then that might be sort of fun. People at or a little bit or higher than my level. But I don't know if they would enjoy playing me that much because let's face it, who enjoys playing me? My playing style is just considered annoying in tennis. So forget that. And also they're not going to want to play me because they're going to be doing some private lesson or some tournament or something like that. So why are they going to play me? I'm not going to be able to get into those situations because those people don't come out to anywhere else except for where they train and where they go to tournaments. And I'm not going to. First of all, there's no tournaments near me. I look up tournaments. There's nothing. There's like boys 15s, boys 12. There's not even one filtered by my location. There's no results. There's nothing. The nearest thing is like 50 miles away. So I'm not doing that, and I'm not going to sign up for private lessons because that's not fun for me. I don't like doing private lessons. I only like winning, playing against people at least. And I know that there's always like, oh, don't you want to get better? I don't care. I'm not a person whose life is so devoted to tennis in the sense that I'm like going to tournaments and I'm actually like college level semi-pro. So no, I don't really care that much about getting better by taking private lessons. If I get better, then I'll get better by playing. Like obviously the purpose of this is pleasure, as is the purpose of anything else. So I take the most pleasure out of playing against people, and I don't want to do private lessons because I don't care about that. And since I'm not that serious about tennis, it doesn't matter. It's not like I'm a pro player who's like doesn't want to practice. I'm not a pro player. I want to play for fun. So I don't want to do private lessons. So then there isn't really much else to do. So I've basically touched upon why it's not that fun to play these people. Well, no, I mean why I can't really play these people who are better than me because they're all at tournaments or such and such, and they probably wouldn't have that much fun playing me. They wouldn't want to play me. They want to play people who are, I shouldn't say at their level, but play a more normal style. Like, who is this kid who's freaking hitting the ball like this? Nah, bro, don't get annoying. Get that out of here. They only want to play these stock standard, cookie cutter, topspin grinding games, and we don't know how to hit a transition shot. I don't know how to hit a volley because we don't need to do that anymore. It's the 2020s, right? All we need to do is how to hit aggressive topspin shots, and that's all we need to do. And we grind from the baseline, and all the players look the same because that's what modern tennis is, right? I mean, not really. Maybe it is. Maybe at some lower levels who are actually good just because they've trained technique, but their IQ is that of a nut. But regardless, so I'm stuck with playing people who, as for the reasons I've just explained, I'm stuck with playing people who are not at my level, which is basically what I do 90% of the time when I'm playing tennis. I don't encounter people at my level. And this is not because so I'm basically better than the people I'm playing with about 90 to 95% of the time. And this is not because I'm so good, because I'm not that good, but rather because I'm somehow at that awkward exact point where I'm better than basically everyone who's not a serious player, but if you're a serious player, then I'm not quite at your level. So I can't play with the serious players because they're not going to be around and they're not going to want to play with me. Therefore, I'm stuck with playing at everyone else, who is a casual. But I'm better than basically all of the casuals that I've encountered, pretty much. The people who have been better than me would not be considered casuals. basically the people who are actually better than me have actually trained, spent years of training, years in the academy. Hence why they're better than me. All the casuals I've played, they have not really been better than me. So, but that's what I'm stuck with playing with 95% of the time. And so sometimes it can be very difficult to have fun playing tennis because I'm stuck with these casuals and who I'm simply better than. And that's not because I'm so good, just because I'm somehow at this awkward stage in the middle of being better than all the casuals, but worse or worse than all or most of the serious players. And that's what I'm stuck with for some reason. So this is how it all goes. So, because I have to play casuals, which I've explained, I have to play against casuals. I can't get access to any of the other serious players. So this and also it doesn't help my area. There's not many courts and there's not many players. There are not many good players. So this is what I'm stuck with. Let's talk about why playing tennis is a problem when you play with these filthy casuals, as we like to call them. So let's say some of them they don't really even play tennis, and they're just athletic, which is fine, whatever. But some of them they have played tennis for a decent amount of time, but they're simply not good enough to go into a higher level, or they just haven't played consistently. But they've played enough so that they know about the game, and they apparently like the game, even though they're trash at it. But they like the game enough that they can keep playing, but they didn't necessarily play consistently for whatever reason it is. And it's all about consistency, right? That's basically all it is about. Because you can hit beautiful shots, have a great technique, but if your mentality isn't there, then your consistency won't be there, and you won't go any farther. That's why if you're actually good, sure, you can hit the ball 90 miles an hour, whatever, but the actual good players will be able to hit the ball maybe not 90 miles an hour consistently, but somewhere in the 70, 60, 70, 80% power, and do that relatively consistently enough so that they can actually beat people. Because if you can't get the ball in the court enough times, no matter how good your supposed technique is, if you don't have the mentality to get the ball into the court, then you're not going to be able to beat enough people. Obviously, right? Obviously. So I'm stuck with playing these casual players. And you can let's try to divide them up into two sort of camps, let's say, two sort of categories. First, we have on one hand, we have the athletic people, the sort of all-around athlete, the guy who's like, yeah, I don't really play tennis, but oh, isn't that sport easy? Like, all you're doing is just hitting it over the net. And, it's not like I really care if people think tennis is easy, because I would say tennis is a relatively easy sport, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it. But it's just kind of funny when, let's just say, it's kind of funny when people try to describe something like that. Tennis, oh, it's just hitting a ball over the net. You could describe anything like that to make it sound stupid, which is kind of funny, or to make it sound simple. Basketball, it's just throwing the ball into the hoop. Football, it's just kicking the ball into the goal. So you're not really, when you're saying that, you're not really achieving anything. You're not showing anything. You're just showing that you can take any game or sport or task or anything and simplify it into saying it's just doing this. It's just doing this. Yes, of course. That doesn't necessarily reveal anything about how hard or easy it actually is. It just shows that you can phrase it in such a way to simplify the goal. And whether or not the goal is easy, you can't necessarily tell from that phrase. But anyway, move on. These athletic people, they think, oh, yeah, I don't really play tennis, but, I'll play, that's a cool sport. So that's one, the athletic people. Actually, before we move on to two, let's keep talking about these athletic people. So, as I stated, they don't really play tennis. So what they'll do is, since they don't play, they don't really know anything about, like, technique, fundamental, or even much strategy, basically. Which is, those things are very important to be a good tennis player, right? And I do not have technique But I have fundamentals. I have knowledge of fundamentals, and I have knowledge of strategy and the right shot to hit. So these things will put me ahead of someone who's simply athletic. They could be much more athletic than I am, but they will not necessarily be that much of a challenge for me because they don't know enough about tennis to know what they're doing in a sense. So this is how these athletic people will play. They don't know a thing about technique because they haven't been brought up playing tennis. So their technique won't necessarily look that good, but it'll look decent maybe because they're just athletic. But probably more on the forehand from the backhand. This is a big thing. These athletic people, they usually don't have much trouble hitting a forehand. Their forehand will probably be like pretty decent, pretty good. To be like, yeah, topspin, yeah, they'll hit good forehands. But since they haven't really learned tennis that much, when it comes to the backhand, they can't do a damn thing. So all you have to do, basically to beat them, is hit it to that side. Because they don't know what they're doing, and it's not the thing that you can kind of just like sort of get through without knowing how to properly hit it. If someone knows what they're doing, then you're not going to be able to do anything. If they hit it to that side enough, and you haven't developed some sort of consistent technique for getting it over, then you're not going to win. So hence why this person would not be challenging enough to me. Because I know all I have to do, just hit it to that side. Because they haven't learned how to hit that shot. So how can this person be a worthy opponent? They cannot, no matter how athletic they can be, if they haven't developed enough of some kind of technique that lets them get that ball back consistently enough, then it doesn't matter. And that's why you can run laps around these athletic people, so to speak, if you will put someone ironically. Even though I can't literally run laps around them, I can beat them at tennis despite being significantly less athletic than they are, because they don't have fundamentals, and it's not a sport where you can get through far without having fundamentals. And it's kind of, this is how it usually will go. They'll run all the way over the place. They'll run all over the entire court. They'll be like Usain Bolt over there. They'll get every single ball. But I mean, and that's good, but it doesn't matter if someone knows what they're doing, because no matter how fast you are, you can't get to everything, right? Obviously, and some people will be like, oh, yes you can, Carlos Alcaraz or Alex de Minaur. No, they can't get to everything. I'm saying you cannot get to everything. It is physically impossible. If you have a shot that a bounce overhead right over the net, and a pro player smashes that, and it goes into the fence, they cannot get to that. It is physically impossible. Like in a similar way, if the guy is all the way on the left side of the court, all the way deep in the court, he hits a shot, you're at the net, and you hit a very short shot in the service box on the other side of the court, he cannot get to it. It is physically impossible. He cannot even begin. In some cases, he cannot even begin to run because he's so far away. It is not humanly possible. That is what I mean, that when you cannot get to everything, you cannot get to every shot. It is simply not humanly possible. And that's the thing. That's what athletic people may not know or understand. And that is why, if you know what you're doing in tennis, you can defeat them quite easily, simply by, because the thing about these athletic people is they won't necessarily know how to hit that hard. And this is because of technique, because in order to hit hard in tennis, you need to have the proper technique. So maybe their forehand will be good, decent, but they won't be able to hit as hard pretty much almost all of the time as someone who actually knows the proper technique to the forehand and knows how to shift their body weight and put their weight into the forehand. They'll just be going off of their gains and try to muscle the forehand, and that might be decently hard in some cases, especially if they don't have a hard shot to hit it off of, but it won't be as hard as someone who knows how to hit with the proper technique most of the time. And for that reason, and let's assume that they do somehow have a hard enough forehand, which could be possible, but which would probably indicate that they have some semblance of correct technique, they still won't have a backhand. So what do we need to do to hit it to them? To beat them? Ding, ding, ding. Hit to their backhand. And let's assume that their backhand is good enough so that they can keep getting it back. They can just push it back into the court because they figured they have enough coordination. They figured out that they can push it back into the court. Let's assume that their backhand is good enough that they can just push it back into the court. But they still won't know how to generate power with it. So what do I need to do if I'm a decent tennis player? With this in mind, hit a decent shot to their backhand. I go to the net. I hit a volley on the other side. Since they're Usain Bolt, they sprint across the damn court. They get the volley back. And then I hit it on the other side. What are you going to do now, buddy? You can't run all the way there. Okay? I know you have the energy to until you figure... I mean, you might. But it's physically impossible. Since you don't know how to hit a hard enough shot, all I have to do is hit a decent shot to the side that you don't know how to hit off of. Hit it to one side, hit it to the other side, because it's physically impossible to run to that. And this can be pretty entertaining, so I will grant that. But it doesn't make it challenging necessarily. It just makes it funny to see them trying to run across the entire thing, and no matter how fast they are, I played track in high school. No, it's sorry, buddy, but you can't possibly accelerate fast enough to get to the other side in time before the ball bounces twice. So too bad. Me being a couch potato who watches tennis more than he plays it, I have bested you despite being of much lower athletic prowess because I actually know how to hit decent shots enough so that people can't do to me what I just did to you because I know enough about the game. So let's say that can be entertaining. I will grant that. But that's how it usually goes with the athletic people. Then we come to the second camp. And these people, I don't really know what I should call them, but let's just say the rejects. Let's say. I mean, they're not necessarily rejects, but they're the people who have sort of played tennis before, maybe used to play tennis, but they didn't go to a high enough level. And when you play them, you can see why. Either they probably stopped somewhere along the way, and they weren't good enough to ascend basically. And these people will not necessarily be that athletic. They won't be as athletic as the athletic side, the people from that first camp that I've just talked about. They most likely will not be. They'll just be people who have played tennis before, but probably didn't play enough to get really good. So they know kind of their technique will be better, a bit better probably. They'll sort of know what the proper technique is, forehand and backhand, but their consistency is just not there. Their consistency is not there. Their skills are not refined, and they don't have what it takes, basically. So I will beat these players basically all the time because of the fact that their consistency is not there. They hit harder than I do because they have better sense of what the proper technique is because they have actually learned this proper technique at some point in time. They hit harder. Their technique probably looks better than I do. But they can't get it in more than 3 times in a row. So is that a challenge? Is this a challenge for me? No. Not enough as I would perhaps like it to be. And let's say is that fun? Is that fun? I mean, it can be. But perhaps perhaps the athletic person would be even more fun to play against than this kind of person, because maybe the athletic person is coordinated enough that they can actually get the ball back enough times and sort of try to do something with strategy, even if they don't necessarily know that much. But maybe they can get the ball back enough times, just because maybe not focusing on technique helps. I mean, not necessarily, but when they don't know what they're doing and they're just like they're naturals, they're natural athletes, so they're like, okay, yeah, I can get the ball back. I'll just have the ball back forever. So, and then it's fun to like I said, move them around the court and make them try to run across the entire length of the thing. That would be entertaining. But is it entertaining when I play against these people who are tennis players? Tennis is their main sport, but they are trash because they can't hit the ball back for more than 3 times in a row. How are you going to be in a place where you have trained doing tennis, maybe for several years, maybe even consistently, such that your technique is better than mine, but I am still so much better than you with my garbage technique compared to your decent technique, just because I can hit the ball back 5 times in a row, which you can't do, even though your technique is so much fundamentally better than mine. But I guess that's just because my mentality is so much better than the average person. I don't know how else to possibly explain this, or else why would it be the case that I'm better than all these people with better technique than me, but who just aren't serious players, right? Even though they've learned the technique. Why am I better than all of them with my trash technique, if not for my mentality? There's no other explanation. And you say they're trash. They're trash. Okay, well, obviously, if I'm better than that trash, then that must be because my mentality is better than them. It can't be because my technique is better. It's because my mentality, my fundamentals, me knowing what to do is better than them. And would this be fun? Would this be fun to play against these guys? No, it would not. It would not be fun. I mean, it could be kind of fun, just because tennis itself, it could be fun. It's fun to hit the ball. It's fun to get points. But it could be so much better than what it is. Because what it is I hit 3 shots and they missed the third one. And this is how 90% of the points go. I'll be like, yep, I don't have to do anything because I know you're just gonna miss. Oh, and there the ball hit the fence. This is 90% of my opponents. Like, what am I gonna do? I explained why I can't get better opponents. It's very difficult to do that. So, would that be fun? Not as much as it could be. And I mean, that's most of it. That's most of it. But it's like, that's just these guys. They're real pieces of work. I tell you, like, you've learned the technique to get it in. You've understood that enough, but you can't reproduce it. Why? Like, because they're just not thinking enough. They just can't do it, and I don't know why. I don't know why they can't do it. They have all the tools to be able to do it, but then they just miss. How is that fun? Like, let's talk about let's sort of dissect this a bit more. So let me tell you how playing against these guys. Oh, yes, I remember what I was going to say. And then most of these guys, they don't even like to. This is what I realized when coming to college and going to the courts there, where anyone could just go out and play. Most of these guys, they don't even like to keep score. They just like to. You'll go, hey, anyone want to hit today, man? Anyone want to hit today? So you're like, sure. Then you go hit with them. if you don't say anything to them, they will rally the ball, not doing anything, just hitting the ball. They will rally the ball for like 3 hours without doing anything. I'm like, bro, how can you hit the ball for 3 hours without doing anything to try to keep score? They will literally just hit the ball. I'm like, this is so boring. I like tennis, but how can you hit the ball for that long? This is a warm up. You don't warm up for 3 hours. You warm up for a few minutes so you can get into playing points, so you can get into winning, so you can get into different situations where you can do different shots and actually run around the court and do what the entire point of tennis is. How can you just rally the ball for 2 hours and not get past that? And this is what most of the people do. And let me explain. And if you watch like pro players do this, professional, like just search up like a practice, like just search up Novak Djokovic practice session or whatever, and any pro player, Rafael Nadal practice, search up the practice. You will see them hitting the ball with their perfect technique back and forth over and over, and then the comments will be like, oh, such beautiful hitting, such beautiful technique. I can listen to this all day. That I can kind of understand, because this person is a professional athlete, a professional tennis player who has honed their skills for many years to basically have perfected their technique. They have basically become a master of their craft, hence why they are a professional. And therefore, since they are a master of their craft, they are able to get the ball back many times over, many times in a row. They are able to hit very perfect looking shots several times in a row. And that I could understand. If you were doing that for a very extended period of time, that could be satisfying because you were doing it well. But that was not the case. That is not the case for these people who are just the average college student tennis player who's not on the team, mind you. Of course, if they were on the team, they'd actually look good. I wouldn't be talking about them. The average college student who tennis is his main sport, and he likes to play tennis. They are not masters. In fact, as I have just for reasons I have just explained, they are trash. Therefore, they are not partaking in this same sort of activity where you watch pros hitting the ball with perfect looking form over and over. They are hitting the ball with semi-decent form over and over because, as I said, they had learned tennis somewhere, so maybe their form looks somewhat decent. They are hitting the ball with semi-decent form over and over, but they are missing every third shot. So how can you do that for 2 hours when you're not even getting the ball back 3 times in a row? I try, and I hit with them. And I'll see, let's see how long it takes for us to get to 10 shots. It takes like a damn hour before we get to that. Because you'll hit 2 shots, miss. Because even if their form looks decent, they can't control the ball enough. They don't know what they're doing enough to be able to gauge to hit it with the right amount of power so that it's not just blasting it, because if you're just trying to rally, why would you be trying to hit it as hard as possible? And with the right amount of depth so that it doesn't go too short, and then you have to look like a fool running up to the ball. Pro players, they will hit perfect looking shots several times in a row because they're pro players, and therefore it makes sense for them to do that for a long time, and that would be satisfying. But these people they don't know what they're doing enough. They will miss every third shot because they're not good enough, but they still like doing it for 2 hours. How you just accept that you're not going to be a pro player. You're not going to get better. You're not going to get significantly better. You're stuck at this mid level for the rest of your life. You're not going to get better, okay? You've been doing this. You've been doing this for more than a year now, where you just play and rally with other mid people for 2 hours. You're not going to get better. If you want to get better, then take a private lesson. Don't keep playing with people who are at the same place as you, who also can't hit the ball 3 times in a row. And because if that was the goal, if they don't find it, unless they somehow find it fun, they must find it fun because they can do this for 2 hours. But let's assume that they think, oh, it's not that fun, but I'll get better by just hitting the ball. Yeah, you're not gonna get better. You are mid, and you will be mid for the rest of your life unless you do a private lesson. You're not gonna get better by hitting with other mid people for 2 hours, and especially if you don't practice anything else. You don't practice being in an actual game setting, an actual match setting where you're winning points, where you're going to the net, where you're forced to hit different shots. No, just rally for 2 hours. This is so damn boring, bro. And I have to force myself, hey, you guys want to play a set now? You guys want to actually count points instead of just hitting the ball, not even hitting it well for 2 hours? Do you actually want to play a game? Because that's what tennis is, a game. Do you actually want to count points to make it an actual game and not just a mindless activity where the only object is to hit the ball in the court, which you can't even do consistently? So since you're not even good enough to do that, do you want to at least have some sense of victory by defeating your opponents, other mid people, being better than the mid people, being the king of the bums? Do you not at least want to do that? Because at least you would experience something that you're winning, since you know that you're not a pro player who can hit beautiful shots over and over. Would you not at least want to win? No, actually, I just like rallying. Oh yeah, just like rallying. Okay, goodbye. I'm gonna leave then because I'm sorry. I came here to play a game. I didn't come here to play. Let me try to hit the ball not into the fence for 2 times in a row. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you can keep rallying for 3 hours. If the courts had light, you'd be there all night. But maybe I think maybe I can actually understand these people a bit. If I were in their shoes, if my IQ was not as advanced as it was in tennis, you know, then I think I could understand them because I know very well how much how how painful it is and how unpleasant it is to lose. Because given that the goal of life is pleasure, I don't and losing is a painful and unpleasant feeling. I don't want to lose. So the only reason that I would go into a situation where I would lose is because if I think I will experience some pleasure in the activity, despite the fact that it may lead to a loss, which would be usually not pleasant, right? So if I were in these people's positions, then maybe I could kind of understand them. Like, oh, I don't want to play a game. Yeah, yeah, I just want to hit. I just want to hit. You know, maybe I can understand why. Because if you play a game, your your mentality lets you down so much, which you're already aware of at this point, because that's why you stopped playing tennis seriously, because you just didn't have it in you mentally. So if you keep playing, if you were to count points and keep playing, your mentality lets you down so much that you know that more often than not you're gonna get easy shots and you're gonna miss the easy shots. So and that would not be fun. That would not be pleasurable. So why would I want to play if I why would I want to keep points when I know that I'm just gonna keep losing because of making stupid bonehead decisions and missing easy shots? I wouldn't want to. So maybe that makes some sense. If I were in that case where I missed every third shot, maybe I wouldn't want to play either because like, oh, I know I'm trash. I know I'm gonna lose. Okay, so maybe it makes sense to hit for 2 hours, but that's just not really fun for me, especially me, since I know that I will not make as many of those mistakes, and I can actually I will beat these people. So I'd rather beat these people than just to hit for 2 hours, even if it's not necessarily that challenging to beat these people. So it's very difficult to find someone who's good enough to play me, but not so good that they won't even want to play with me. It's very difficult, and hence why more often than not, the vast majority of the players that I play with, I can easily defeat, and it will not even necessarily be that entertaining. So now let's talk a little bit about how these guys' mentality, how these guys approach their game or the shots. Let's just talk about different shots, something because the mentality of these guys. Seriously, I mean this. I don't know. I think maybe it wasn't any better in the 80s, 60s, whatever. I mean, or maybe it was. I wasn't around there. I don't know how consistent people used to be, but this generation is fried, man. The mentality of this generation is absolutely detestable. I mean, for so many reasons that I won't even get into right now, because now I've decided that I'm only going to talk about just tennis for now, right? So you go to the 80s. They have these little wooden rackets, these tiny rackets, and that's what they used to play with. And then finally, around like, I don't know, 90s or so, 90s 2000s, there was a switch, and they'll be like, let's make the racket bigger. Let's make the racket bigger because we want people to actually play this game. And if you have this little tiny oval thing where it's like very hard to hit the ball, then no one's gonna play it. So they said, let's make the racket bigger, and then maybe more people will play the sport. And they did. I mean, more people started playing. But it just shows you the remarkableness of this of the mentality of people. They made the racket bigger to make it easier for you to play, and you're still going to miss every second shot, even when they made it easier for you. And this is with you knowing the technique already too. Oh yes, I understand. You hit the top spin to make the ball go into the court, and I've gone to camp and I've practiced, but once I get this easy shot, boom, into the fence. What? What? They made it easier for you, and you're still messing it up. How? The mentality of these bums. And so let's go back. Let's talk about, like, how does tennis start? Well, it starts with the serve, of course. So, and this is what I've already talked about in another video. These guys, they'll try to hit an absolute bazooka on their first serve. Misses about 90% of the time. I have a 10% first serves in percentage. That's pretty good. Yeah. So granted, they're gonna miss their first serve. I don't even know why I'm standing back. Like, just because in case of the 10% chance that they actually somehow manage to get it in, then I would not want to be standing close, because they can smack the thing. They just can't get it in the box 90% of the time. So you're starting with a second serve. Just start with a second serve. And in tennis is very nice. It's whoever created it is a very friendly guy. He thought about how humans are and be like, knowing these idiots, they'll probably screw up when they have to start the point right away. The first thing they'll do. So we'll make it a bit easier for them. We'll give them 2 chances to get the ball into this box, which is not a very small box, at least if you've been playing tennis for a decent amount of time. So knowing that they'll probably screw up the first time, we'll give them another chance. And these bums still screw it up. You have 2 chances. The guy who created tennis was nice enough to give you not 1 but 2 chances to get the ball in this box, this decently sized box. And you've been doing that for who knows how long, several years. You know what a serve is. You've been hitting serves. You've been practicing serves. He gives you 2 chances to start the point to get it in this box, which almost every other sport doesn't do. And you still mess it up the second time. How is that possible? Mate, you got 2 chances to get it in this box. This big box. Let's call it a big box. I can stand in it and have a lot of area around me. How are you going to mess it up again? And this is what they'll do. Either they'll try for, because they want to have, like, oh, I want to have a good second serve. So yeah, I could just tap it in, but I'm not gonna do that because I want to have a good second serve. Buddy, you're not good. So just tap it in. Your opposition is not going to be able to do anything with that because they're not good either. They're on your level. So just tap the damn ball in. If you actually needed to get, if you were at the level where you needed to get a decent second serve, then you wouldn't be playing here at the park. You'd actually be in a tournament somewhere. So you're clearly not very good. So just tap the damn ball in to give yourself a chance of winning the point. But they can't seem to comprehend that. So they'll try to actually do a decently fast second serve. Double fault. Miss like misses more often than not. How could you double fault? How can you give away more points to your opponent by literally so that they literally don't have to do anything? How can you do that more often than you can make them play a point? Make them play, which you might even not win. How can you do that so many times? Not even give yourself a chance to start the point. Buddy, it's not that deep. Hit the ball in the box. Just tap the ball in. The guy doesn't know how to smack it consistently. If he did, he wouldn't be playing you. So and then there's the other people. There's the people who realize this. So they give up. They give up trying to hit a decent second serve. And or maybe this will happen because they'll usually try to hit a decent second serve and they'll miss because they don't know what they're doing. They double fault like 20 times in the set or whatever. So maybe some point will come when they'll realize, damn, I cannot hit a second serve in. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna tap this in, and they still miss it. They can't even tap the ball in. My God, it's a box. It's a big box. Take the ball, hold your racket like a dang frying pan. Tap the ball in the box. Okay, tap the ball in that big box. It's not that hard. But these guys they can't do it. They just can't do it. I don't know what it is with these people. You don't even know. I don't even know what to say. And then what else am I gonna say? I mean I've said it all. I've said enough. You get into the point. Let's assume that. Okay, no, let's not even assume that by some miracle they got a serve in. Let's assume that I was serving, and I of course got my serves in because I know how to tap a ball into a box, and I wouldn't even know how to do that normally. It's not like my aim is good, but you've been playing tennis for years. You know that you had to do that if you want to begin the point, and you kept doing this. You kept playing a sport where you knew that that in order to start a point, someone, and half the time it was going to be you, was going to have to hit a ball into that box. And you never got good enough that you could do that consistently by just hitting it slowly. That does not make any sense. It's not like you take someone who doesn't play tennis, or who never played tennis, or who doesn't play tennis, and be like, oh, you have to hit the ball into that box, and then they mess up. It's like, okay, yeah, because you're not used to doing it. You don't play tennis. You don't even know that you have to start the point like that. Maybe you don't know. Okay, so maybe you can't do that consistently yet. But these other people, they've been playing tennis for years. They know what a serve is. They know you have to start the point by hitting it there, and they can't do it. They can't. How can you double fault that many times? How is that possible? Tell me how that's possible. Like, if it was any other thing with aiming, I wouldn't be able to do it because I can't aim, but I can play tennis. I can aim enough to hit it in that box because I've played for so many years, and because I know that if I want to actually have any chance of winning the point, I have to start the point. So obviously I can hit the ball in that box. If I'm actually going to call myself someone who plays tennis, I have to know how to hit the ball in the box. And if I couldn't hit the ball in that box, then I wouldn't keep playing tennis. Because why would I keep playing tennis if I can't even start the dang point half the time? So obviously, I can hit the ball in the box. And then, this is what these people will do. Assume that they return my serve, which more often than what should happen, they don't. Even though the thing is not fast by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, if I try to hit a first serve, it can be fast if you don't play tennis. If you play tennis, it's not a fast serve. I know this. I'm not going to delude myself and say that I can serve fast. I can't serve fast. I can serve the ball in, not fast. But and they will miss it. They will miss it. And I'm hitting the ball so slowly to you. How can you miss that? I'm not doing anything to it. I'm not doing any voodoo spin crap on it. I'm putting like a very light amount of side spin on it, and you still miss it. Mate, hit the ball in. Can we actually play, or are you just going to miss every single shot? And now let's assume that they somehow get the return back. Or let's assume they get the return back. Okay? How will the rally go? You'll hit one shot. They'll hit the return back. Then you'll hit another shot to them. They'll miss. The end. And if they don't miss that, then they'll miss the next one. The end. Is that fun? I didn't have to do anything. Can you give me a chance? I'll think of strategies. I'll think of strategies that I want to implement. I'm like, would it be cool if I do this? And I'll serve the ball, miss. Mate, can you hit the ball back so I can actually try doing my strategy? They won't even hit the ball enough time so that I can implement a strategy that I'm thinking of. I'm like, I want to try on the fifth shot, maybe mix it up by doing this. And then they miss the second shot. Can you just get the ball back a couple more times so I can actually try doing what I wanted to try? But no, they can't manage that, apparently. And this is how other points will go. Let's say that they get an attackable shot, so they're gonna take that and go to the net. They don't know what they're doing there. You'll give them a volley to their forehand, and they'll smack the thing past the baseline into the fence. Oh, it's terrible, man. I mean, to be fair, I'm not very good at volleying myself, and it is something that most people consider a bit difficult. So we'll give them a pass on this, but I guess. I mean, not really. It's just that I myself admit that I'm not as good as I should be at this. But you really should be making those. But anyway, I mean, that's kind of how it goes. That's tennis. I mean, it has its flaws, but it's a pretty good sport.